Welcome in to Texans Today. I'm your host, Jeremy Chugs, and coming up on the program today, new team headquarters. Could we see a new area of Houston have the practice facility and team headquarters for your Houston Texans? We'll talk about it, and we have a Texans injury update, an insane Texans cut candidate that, frankly, I'm just going to rip apart at some point in today's show. And then, lastly, the Texans' biggest need, and it's not what you think it is. I'll tell you what an NFL expert thinks the Texans' biggest need is heading into the offseason and then eventually training camp in the preseason. But we are still on that road to 30,000 subscribers. We need 305 more. If you can help me out, that would be amazing. I'm trying to get this channel to 30K. Thank you to everybody who's hit that sub button so far. And if you want free Texans news and rumors content all year long, live watch parties, and even more, make sure you hit that sub button. It's 100% free. Just go down and hit the subscribe. All right, let's get into the first part of today's show where the Texans had a charity golf outing yesterday, and one interesting part that came from that was new team president Mike Toman. He was in attendance, and the owners, Cal and Hannah McNair, were asked about a possible new training facility / headquarters / kind of a, design district-esque kind of place. And they didn't shoot it down at all. And they said, we're looking anywhere in the greater Houston area, which at first they said anywhere. And then Hannah kind of, you could tell Cal was just like, oh yeah, anywhere. And Hannah was like PR, like, oh wait, no, anywhere in Houston, anywhere in Houston. So state your case right now. I know people from the Texans watch this show, so let your voice be heard. Where in Houston should they build a new facility? It'll be a, practice facility / team headquarters, going to be shops, other things around the Houston Texans, maybe some cool fan experiences there as well. But let me know, where do you think it should be? Should it be across from NRG? Should it be north of downtown, south of downtown, east, west, west? Where should it be? Let me know down in the comment section. Let me know where they need to build this new facility. Next up, let's talk about some Texans injury updates. Some that we really, already knew, and then some that maybe are some news to some people. First, let's talk about the, somewhat news item. Jimmie Ward. DeMeco Ryans, we know he loves himself some Jimmie Ward, is one of the first guys he signed to come over to the Houston Texans after he was named head coach. Played with him over in San Francisco, and he said, he's recovering well from his injury. He's already out of his boot, and he should be a big contributor for this Texans team in 2025. Now, what does that mean in big contributor, right? Because they just extended Jalen Petrie to play that, nickel safety role. They traded for C.J. Gardner-Johnson to be one of the deep safeties alongside Kalen Bullock. So is Jimmie Ward just kind of the backup to Jalen Petrie / step in for any of the safeties? Is the next guy up? Is he going to help out in special teams? I don't know what he meant by, he's going to make a big impact for this team next season. But I do know this. I always put Jimmie Ward on my trade / cut videos, and it seems like it's never going to happen, right? Now, I said the same thing about Bobby Slowick and DeMeco Ryans because I knew they were, really good friends. But DeMeco was able to move on from Slowick. I don't know if he has the same pressure, though, to move on from a guy like Jimmie Ward. And with his recent comments saying that he's going to be a big part of 2025, I don't see that being the case either. Now, let's go to the other injury update, one that we already all knew about. And there's going to be a million questions around this guy right here in Tank Dell. And I know people are going to see his progress because, he got a full leg sleeve tattoo. I've seen in some areas in social media that he's been doing light workouts, right? Like not running, not planning, not anything big, but, little movements, little things in the gym where if you saw it would give you a lot of hope for him to play this next season, which I know he's recovering well. We've seen him out in public. We've seen him at Rockets games, at, Houston Cougar games, everything in between. But Tank Dell's not going to play in 2025. I really don't see it happening. And if it does, at the latest, it's going to be probably, earliest I think would be December. I am hoping that Tank Dell is able to come back, But the moves that the Texans have made this offseason kind of prove to you that they don't foresee Tank Dell being a major factor this season. That's why they double-dipped at wide receiver in the draft, and they traded for Christian Kirk, and they went ahead and signed a lot of receivers in free agency, like a Justin Watson, like a Braxton Berrios, right? So they've already made a ton of moves kind of showing you that they're preparing for no Tank Dell this next season. I want Tank Dell to be back just as bad as the next guy. But for right now, I think we need to pump the brakes and also not try to rush Tank Dell back, because we want Tank back, but we want him to continue to be back. We don't want him to be back and get re-injured because he pushed himself and came back too earlier than he should have. We want him to be able to come back and get to 100% because we all know the Texans offense is more electric when number 3 is out there with this offense. Now, coming up in just a moment, absolute ludicrous article that I read on the Texans possibly cutting Cade Stover. I'd be upset if this happened, just to be frank with you. I'll break down this rumor coming up in just a moment. But before I do, got to show some love to our friends over at Prize Picks, the sponsor of today's program. It's my go-to daily fantasy app, and it should be yours as well. It is actually America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. Prize Picks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Cash in on the basketball playoffs with Prize Picks. Don't miss your last chance to add your favorite players from the court to your Prize Picks lineup. Whether it's points, rebounds, assists, take your pick of more or less for your shot to win up to 2,000 times your cash today. And I know our squad is out of it, so I went ahead and I'm looking on to greener pastures. I'm looking on to the Texan season, and they actually have season-long projections right now for a lot of your Texans on Prize Picks. Now, you have to add somebody from another team, so I went ahead and added Trevor Lawrence. But this is my Prize Picks lineup right here. You can use it. You can go against it. Just go ahead and do it over on Prize Picks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app out there. And they have amazing deals all the time. And funny enough, today is Taco Tuesday. Every Tuesday, Prize Picks will discount several projections on the board, usually by 15 to 25%. A great value. So for my listeners and viewers, make sure you download the Prize Picks app today and use our special code CLNS and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code CLNS on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. So get started today with our friends over at Prize Picks. Run your game. All right, so let's get into this shitty article about Cade Stover, because this is why you got to listen to guys who are, cover this team, who are around this team, and who, follow this team throughout the season and aren't just, tasked on writing a certain article or writing this and that. Now, this comes from House of Houston, which I expected a little bit more out of, but this is what they had to say on Cade Stover. Stover, Houston's 4th-round pick from a year ago, may find himself the odd man out in the pecking order after not showing much in his rookie season. Stover drew praises from the coaching staff in the offseason and found plenty of opportunities during his rookie campaign, playing 40% of offensive snaps and 58% of special team snaps in 15 games. Perhaps more importantly, Stover received a 23.6 pass block grade on PFF, considering that this will likely be a large portion of his role in the revamped Texans offense. Stover needs to be a better blocker and more willing as a blocker. I just think this is idiotic on so many levels. It makes no sense for the Texans to cut Stover right now. And the part that I didn't show you because I wasn't going to just clip the whole article is he also talked about the additions of Irv Smith Jr. and the 7th-round selection of Luke Lachey, which I get it. There's a lot of people who are like, Luke Lachey, the 7th-round pick out of Iowa, could be one of those guys who we look back on in a couple years and it's like, wow, how did the Texans get him in round 7? But, I mean, I don't see how you can look at the depth chart right now and be like, oh, yeah, Cade Stover's the odd man out. That makes no sense to me. To be like, oh, yeah, Cade's the guy that's on the outside looking in. You have Dalton Schultz, who's on basically the last year of his contract because he has 2 more years, but after this season, this offseason, the Texans can save $11 million by cutting Dalton Schultz. Brevin Jordan on a 1-year deal. Luke Lachey, a 7th-round pick. And Irv Smith Jr., somebody you signed on the vet minimum. So you're saying all that concoction of guys who none of them really have a huge outlook to the future in this Texans team, in this Texans offense, all those guys are ahead of Cade Stover. Am I missing something here? Am I the one that's like, dumb in this one? I don't see how that makes any sense to be like, oh yeah, your tight end who you drafted in round 4, who's actually former teammates with C.J. Stroud, who this, coaching staff and front office really liked and they praise a ton. That's the guy that they're going to cut. What? That makes no sense at all. Going into year 2, Cade Stover, I would say, has the best chance at some point this season to be the Texans' tight end 1 / starting tight end for this team, especially in a new Nick Caley offense where he's going to predicate his offense on, obviously the zone run scheme, but also getting the tight ends involved. That's his thing. He's a tight end guy. He was a former tight end coach. Look what he did with Tyler Higbee with the LA Rams. He's going to see Cade Stover as somebody who he can mold and really help really progress as a tight end in the NFL. And he mentions, Stover didn't have the best output at his rookie season. Okay, yeah, he's a 4th-round pick. But here are some, I would say, arguably the best tight ends of all time and then the best rookie tight end season of all time, right? These 4, I would say, are 4 of the best tight ends of all time, the best rookie tight end season of all time, right? Tony Gonzalez, 360 yards, 33 receptions. Antonio Gates, 24 receptions, 389 yards. The 10 touchdowns from Gronk was nice, but still less than 600 yards. Travis Kelce, decent, 860 yards, maybe one of the better, rookie seasons by a tight end. But tight ends need time to adjust. They need those 1 or 2 years because they come into the league and they're not just working on receiving. They're also working on blocking, which you mentioned Cade Stover is struggling a little bit with. At least he was in his rookie season. But you're just going to be like, oh, yeah, he struggled a little bit last year, so he's the odd man out. He's going to be the one that leaves. That makes no sense to me. That is so idiotic to be like Cade Stover is the odd man out. I would say Cade Stover is the guy I trust the most going into 2025 on this tight end depth chart. I would say him and Brevin Jordan maybe because Jordan, before he got injured, showed a lot of promise. Dalton Schultz had maybe one of his more down years in the NFL. Irv Smith didn't catch a single pass for you last year. So there is no way the Texans are going to cut Cade Stover. And I want to hear from you because I just said, the tight end I think I trust the most going into 2025 is probably Cade Stover. Let me know in the comment section. Which tight end do you trust the most? Is it Dalton Schultz? Is it Cade Stover? Is it Brevin Jordan? I mean, I don't have a ton of trust in any of these guys, but if I had to choose one, probably be Cade Stover. Now, last up, the Texans' biggest remaining need. Fox Sports put out an article, outlining all the teams' different, biggest needs after the NFL draft. And Ralph Vaccanio from Fox Sports had this to say about the Houston Texans. They still haven't done much to beef up their defensive line interior. They got a good season out of Tim Settle last year, 5 sacks. But the only addition they made in the offseason was a reunion with 31-year-old Sheldon Rankins, which actually I agreed with a lot in this article because when you look at the Texans' defensive tackles and you look at, the guys they have that can play nose tackle, the only one that really gives you any promise, the only one that I think is going to have a huge role in 2025 is Tim Settle. Sheldon Rankins, yes, he plays a little bit of nose, but also you're relying on a guy who, like the article said, 31 years old, and he dealt with a lot of injuries last year. And even then, I don't know if Sheldon Rankins is as much of a nose tackle as he is, somebody who you want to shade over the guard. I don't know if Sheldon Rankins is a guy that I want to play over the center a ton, right? So it's like Tim Settle is the main guy who I would say is your nose tackle, your beefy guy in the middle who's going to eat up blocks and really mess up the interior of that O-line situation for opposing teams. I think this not the biggest need for the Texans. I think obviously that biggest need is still offensive line, still proven otherwise, till they kind of sort these guys out and we can see what the Texans offensive line looks like and, the starters that this team's going to have. But behind that, I think defensive tackle might be the sneaky number 2 of, biggest need for the Texans before the start of the 2025 NFL season. And I've continued to say this. Look out for a reunion with Foley Fatukasi. He played well for the Texans last year, got injured towards the end of the year, started his offseason with surgery, so he's not going to be ready to sign until it gets closer to preseason, closer to the season. But with that familiarity, I think Foley Fatukasi could be a name that you see the Texans, look at towards we get closer and closer towards the season. John Jenkins is another guy. Taven Bryan, even though I'm not even sure if he really fits the mold as a true nose tackle, more than he is kind of a defensive tackle. And then Carlos Watkins. Obviously, it's free agency after the draft. The names aren't going to be nice. The names aren't going to be sexy. But look out for a reunion with Foley Fatukasi if the Texans don't feel very comfortable with the interior defensive linemen that they have on this roster right now. Now, if you want to continue the conversation, you can hit me up on Twitter at Jeremy Chugs, and make sure you hit that sub button. We are close to 30K. I want to get there in the next couple of days. I appreciate all y'all for watching the end of the video. Y'all are real ones. Thank you, and y'all all have a great day.